Hello, welcome. I'm Claudia. If you're new here, if you don't know, I share all sorts of things, houseplants, anything I might learn along the way to help you grow happy, lush, thriving plants. And if you're back, thank you so much for coming back. I truly appreciate you. Happy New Year. I believe this is going to be the first video of the new year, and I just thought that it was fitting to share some plant goals that I have for this upcoming year. I shared this video for the first time last year, and I really kept it more about like things and intentions, goals type of thing, so more like a list of things that I shared with you of what my goals were for my overall collection. And I mean, I really enjoy that because that's just an exercise that I do every year, and I find it helpful, and I really do like to reflect and then plan my next year accordingly. And I'm gonna share that with you as well, but I also thought it would be fun to pick a couple of plants that I want to maybe put a little bit more effort into growing better and nicer and share those with you, and then we can check back in at the end of the year and see what worked or what didn't, or if I still have them. And yeah, so this is obviously a little different than what we normally do. We're usually, doing a thing with a plant or whatever, but again, I thought it would be fun to kind of pick those plants out and then we can check back in on them. I thought maybe we could do like quarterly check-ins, but let's be honest, I might forget about those. But either way, I think it'll be fun, and I hope that you do too. Let's get started. Super brief, I want to mention, because a couple of you have said that you missed my merch drop. I did make the merch available for you to purchase if you would like. I'll probably keep it up for another 10 days. So from the time this video goes live to 10 days from now, and then I'll probably just shut it off. Whoever wanted it, got it by that point. But if you would like to purchase, I'll make sure to add that down below, and let's get started. You already know I have a list. Like I said, I actually do this, I don't want to say big, but this whole exercise on reflection and intentions and all of that. And with that, I assign goals to different areas of my life. If it's something you'd like me to share more of, I'm happy to send that to you privately, but I do appreciate that not everyone is into that. Most people probably just want to see the plant stuff. So I'll keep it as concise as possible for those purposes. I'm going to start with kind of just like the verbal goals first, and then we'll go into the plants that I chose, because I feel like the goals are actually pretty simple and the list is very short. There's 5 of them, I think. Yeah, there's 5 of them. And some of them are like a continuation of what I set as my goals last year. So last year, my goals were focused around intentionality and being intentional with my collection and what I bring in, what I keep, what I choose to care for. And I really think that that was exactly what I needed. I feel really, really happy with my collection. I was very selective with any new plants I brought into my space. And overall, I just feel like I also kept saying like, I want to fall in love with my collection again. And I really think that I did good at that. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but I want to continue a lot of that into the new year. One of the big goals that I set last year that I shared with you was to start my DIY pest prevention spray again with my plants, because the previous year I pretty much abandoned that, and I did that really well, I think. So for 2026, I would love to continue that. And I mean, I feel like I will. It's just become part of my routine. I even keep that sprayer with my DIY pest prevention in the shower, or like next to the shower when I go water plants or rinse them off in there. Then it's just like an easy spray, and it's so easy to make. So that's something I definitely want to continue for 2026, because I feel like it's made a big difference with the overall health and keeping plants at bay. And then also it helps to have the leaves clean so that they can better photosynthesize and absorb light. So that's definitely something I want to continue. So it's continuing as one of my goals for this next year. Something I want to do more purposefully and intentionally, or even like schedule it in 2026, is I want to do like a walkthrough of my collection and any decluttering. So like getting rid of any plants that I'm not enjoying. They're, hanging on by a thread, and I'm just, we're waiting for the inevitable sort of situation. So I would love to do that quarterly. Maybe that's a little too often to do every 3 months. Is quarterly 3 months? Maybe that's too often to do every 3 months, but I think that even if I do a walkthrough and I decide everything stays, I just want to make sure that I'm actively doing that so that it doesn't become like now there's all of these plants that I do once a year. I did do that once a year, I think, last year, and overall I think I was good at just like removing plants from my space that I was either not enjoying or they weren't making it or I was choosing to move on from. But I want to just be better at that so that, like, for example, I'm looking right behind you at that used to be a philodendron Rio that's above my ficus tenikii. I haven't taken it out of my space, even though I've known for months that that plant needs to go into the compost. So yeah, I want to do a quarterly walkthrough and just get rid of anything that needs getting rid of. I did this next one last year too, and I thought that it went really well. I only broke it briefly once when I was celebrating something, but I want to go on a plant freeze until at least March 1st. I think it's very doable. It actually wasn't that hard for me to do last year. I mean, certainly plants pop up that, you know, you want and you get excited about and all of that, but in general, I think that I have no business getting any new plants the first 2 months of the year. There's plenty to do and enjoy and focus on. So I would love to do that, and I'm sharing it with you so you can hold me accountable. So if you see me opening a plant, unboxing plant mail or whatever, you can call me out on it. This next one is super plant specific, and it is my Watsoniana velvet. I believe it's called velvet, like white veins velvet or whatever. I've struggled with this plant pretty much since it arrived. I did get it as a tiny little plant plug, and I rehabbed it rooted up and whatever, but that plant has never looked good for me. I've restarted it at this point, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 different times. Most recently, we added it into my Millsbo wide cabinet. I do still have other pieces of it, corms, and I think it was like the mid-cut or whatever, that are on the Vitsto shelf in one of my humidity box or clear boxes. But that plant, I mean, in here, it's like, it looks terrible. I will show you. So I want to make a decision with that plant as to whether I'm going to continue trying or let go of it by March 1st. So I figured I'm giving myself 60 days to try and see if I even really am trying, want to try, and what the outcome is, and then make a decision whether, I'll keep trying with it or move on from it, because it's been a long time where it's not going well. It's unpleasant for both of us. So it's time to just make a decision on what's happening with that plant. And of course, I'll share with you what that ends up being. And then the last thing is also just kind of very plant specific, but I want to get rid of a couple of plants. I want them out of my space by January 31st or sooner, but I'm giving myself the deadline, just in case, because let's be honest, I'm not going to take that philodendron Rio out today, although I probably should, but I probably won't. So I'm giving myself 30 days to get rid of some plants that need to go. So i.e. that philodendron Rio, my Alocasia pink Yucatan princess. I don't like that plant. I never have. I don't enjoy it. Like, I need to move on from it. Like, stop delaying the process. My Alocasia mellow pups, I'm holding on to them out of guilt, and I don't need to do that. So those have to go. And then there's 2 Anthurium on the shelf behind you above my desk. I've mentioned them before. They were both imports from Cartel Down, and they've just never looked good. So I need to decide, well, I wrote them on my get rid of, but maybe I need to decide, they need a switch list as to whether I'm going to try to rehab them and try with them one more time, or they need to go. Either way, they need to leave that shelf because they don't look good, they've never looked good, and they're always on the brink of unaliving. So those are my goals for 2026. I find it really helpful to give myself deadlines. So again, like, I'm on the plant freeze plant buying freeze until the March 1st, or getting rid of certain plants by January 31st. It really helps me to have this target and be able to cross it off my list. One of my most favorite things is to cross things off a list. I may or may not have mentioned that already, but I make lists all the times of my to-dos or whatever, and sometimes I will add things to a list that I did just for the satisfaction of crossing it off. If you're like me, let me know. If you think I'm crazy, let me know too. Okay, so next I'm gonna show you and talk through 7 plants that I picked that I wanna just put a little bit of extra effort into and really try to grow them well and nicely, and then we can look back and see what happened at the end of the year. And the first one, these are in no particular order, but these are plants that I'm just, I guess that plants that I've just been coasting with for the most part, and that I think I can do better and put a little bit more effort and really get them to what they could and should be. So the first one is my Begonia Fanny Moser. This plant I chopped with you not terribly long ago. This actually ended up being just a stump. There was 0 leaves left on it when we chopped it. Actually, I think there might have been 1 or 2 leaves that promptly fell off because, you know, they were just retiring, I guess, I don't know, or whatever. But I do have the propagations over on my Vitso shelf, and they're doing okay, or I would say well, I guess. There's new growth on them. But this had actually started to grow pretty nice leaf size for me before I chopped it. This was just a single vine, and I just think it's so cute. Like, you can see this is the newest leaf right here. I hope that the color translates well, but the polka dots are so pink and the foliage is so dark, and I just think it looks really cute, and I would love to really put better effort into it. But I mean, I neglect it so bad. I also mentioned her as an honorable mention as plants that thrive on neglect, because she seems to do well even skipping waterings and super minimal light and all of that. But I would like to experiment with giving her just better care. It doesn't necessarily mean more care, but just better. Like, she's getting low light at best where she's at now, so maybe trying a little bit more light, maybe making sure that she's fed every single watering and not going super dry between waterings. So yeah, I'd love to see what she looks like at the end of the year, because I don't know. I think that she's so special and has so much potential to just look amazing. Next plant I picked is my Alocasia watsoniana lightning, and I've talked about her quite a few times, how she initially did so well for me. Then she got springtails. I freaked out thinking it was something else, and I was pretty aggressive in treatment. She promptly went downhill, and then since then I restarted her twice. The first time didn't go well. I got her to root and everything, and then didn't do well again. And then now this time she was doing much better, and I know you're gonna get at me, but she went a little bit underwatered for a little bit longer than she should have, and all of her leaves, you can see they're just kind of like drooping. This one I think will probably stay, but these two are very likely, I mean, they're yellowing on their way out. She does have a new growth point, which is good, but I really want to put a conscious good effort at caring for her. So she reminds me a little bit of my varicosum. So we know I'm a chronic underwater, but I want to just be on top of her a little bit more, because at one point she gave me an enormous leaf. It was huge, like, I don't know, 1.5 feet or something. And I think she's very beautiful. So I want to make sure that I'm on top of her, and I want to give her the care that she needs and deserves. And I just want to have a beautiful Alocasia lightning in my collection again. So let's see how I do. Next one is also from my Millsbo wide cabinet. It is my Anthurium warocqueanum, Queen Anthurium. You know the whole story. In case you don't know, long story short, huge spider mite infestation reoccurring in the cabinet. I did an intensive and aggressive treatment for 21 days, and this is what she's looking like now. Prior to that, I had a very easy time with her. She grew very beautiful leaves. I will say not a fast grower, but consistent grower, and she gave me really nice beautiful leaves, and I found her pretty easy going otherwise. So I really just want to put more attention to her and want to give her the opportunity to continue to grow like she was before and give me some of those beautiful, nice pendant foliage that she was giving me before. I'm just noticing something right here. Oh, it's like debris from, it's like sheath, dry sheath or something. I mean, yeah, it was too big to be anything else, but you know, I'm a little bit scarred with that whole situation, so one cannot be too vigilant. Anyway, so yeah, I would love to just see what she does in this next year, and hopefully I can get her back to her beautiful self. Also, for my Millsbow wide cabinet, I guess it's no surprise because a lot of those plants suffered quite a bit with that whole debacle, but it is my Alocasia Frydek elbow, and I'm just holding this one, but it's representing my 3 Alocasia Frydek elbows that I have, because one of them I actually just completely chopped with you back up. It had rotted roots. The other one's been in rehab for a second over on my Visto shelf, but they all had such large, beautiful leaves. I mean, they were so full and bushy, and yeah, they all pretty much ended, I mean, this is the one that looks the best out of the 3. So I really just want to get this plant back up and running because she is one of my absolute favorite plants, one of my favorite Alocasia for sure. I mean, she's just so beautiful. This particular plant happens to be my most highly variegated one, and I mean, yeah, she's just so pretty. So beautiful. I want those big, beautiful, bushy plants again. So I want to just be very careful and mindful of their care and stay on top of their pest treatment and pest prevention, because I mean, that's really what ended up taking a lot of those plants down this year for me. And yeah, I'm very curious to see what she will look like at the end of next year. We're out of the cabinet, and this next plant might come as a surprise because I feel like I don't mention it often, but it's definitely one that's in my mind often, and I'm constantly thinking about and want to do better by it and just want a glimpse of what I had before. And it is my philodendron Florida Ghost. This has been on a journey with me and for me. I got it, geez, I don't know, maybe almost 3 years ago. And immediately when I got it, I was like, oh, I actually don't really like it. So I neglected it. Lived in the laundry area for probably a full year. And then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna actually put some effort into it. As soon as I did, I put it on a pole. I started giving it more light. It was beautiful, on its way to be one of my favorite houseplants in my entire collection. And then what happened? I really don't know what happened. It very well could have been that my chronic underwatering ways forgot to water it for a really long time. And actually, I think that it started, I moved its spots. That's what happened. So it was getting better light and growing beautifully. I loved the color so much. And then I moved its spots. And even though I had a grow light on it, it was clearly not enough because it started growing just regular green leaves, and I didn't love that. So I ended up chopping it and propagating, and it only activated one node that was actually very beautiful and like getting very minty and ghosty leaves again. But then I neglected and underwatered it for a long time. So I had to, or I didn't have to, but I chose to just chop it completely back into nodes, and this was the top cutting, and I ended up potting it back over here. But even now, I mean, obviously it's looking better and it's growing and all of that, but this is the newest leaf. I mean, it's not terrible, but this is what we're after. It's just not getting enough light. So I really want to set it up in a way where it's getting optimal light, optimal conditions. I want to be super mindful of its watering also, because this is kind of a philodendron that it'll be fine if you let it completely dry out, but you can't wait a week in between when it's completely dry. You know what I mean? So I have to just be more vigilant of its watering needs as well, but definitely add more light. And I just look forward to having a beautiful, large, ghosty philodendron. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I will say the new leaf looks to be pretty ghosty. So I'm excited to see what it'll look like, although by some miracle, because it's getting very low light where it currently is. I definitely need to add light to this wall for multiple reasons, but especially if I want to keep this plant there. There's only 2 more plants. So this one is my Aglaonema Manila's Pride or Manila Pride. I'm not positive on the name. I got this in a trade over summer, I believe, early summer or maybe late spring. And honestly, I haven't really paid too much attention to its care because it seems pretty easy and resilient, honestly. But I mean, first of all, we can tell that it's getting bleached. This is like, there's several, 3 of the leaves at least, that are just like very, very bleached, and they're not older leaves that are yellowing off. Like this is a leaf that's yellowing off, so the color is very, very different. I feel like it's very obvious to know which ones are getting bleached versus which ones are retiring. And I just want to put more effort into this plant because Aglaonema as a genus, actually, this is my very first Aglaonema, and then you may remember I got another Aglaonema and I ended up just removing all of the soil and placing it into pond, and it didn't skip a beat. So, I mean, I don't know. First of all, it's beautiful, but also if it's that resilient and easy to care for, then I want to put more effort into not bleaching it and maybe just giving it a more prime spot, maybe where I'm going to be able to better care for it or fill its reservoir and things like that, and then see what I get by the end of the year, because it's a very beautiful plant. I mean, I don't know, I feel like the color, it's a little like, again, this is so bleached, but it's just a really pretty green, lots of white. I mean, it truly has a lot of the characteristics of a variegated plant that I like, and it reminds me a little bit of like a peace lily, which I love. So yeah, I just want to put more effort into caring for her and see what happens. Finally, this last plant, I shared quite a bit about my journey with the plant and all of that very recently, so I won't go into too much detail, but it is my Monstera esqueleto. So I recently got this in a trade. I have history with Monstera esqueleto, period, so not this one in particular. I recently got this in a trade. It's a top cut. I placed it in perlite to root, and I can already see lots of new roots forming. Like this is going to be ready for me to pot up very soon. And I just, because I've always dreamed of growing a beautiful esqueleto, I want to just spend time really caring for this plant. I'm obviously going to give it a pull. I am going to do a moss pull, so I want to be, you know, similar to my varicosum. I want to be vigilant of when the pole needs water, vigilant of what the plant needs and the plant's health. And yeah, I really would like to put some effort into seeing what I can get out of her, especially since it's a top cut and it's already so large. Imagine like these are the bottom leaves. Like what can I do with the top leaves like a year from now? I'm so excited to see and to care and grow for this plant over the year. Those are my planty goals for 2026. I'd love to hear what some of your goals are, whether they're plant specific or collection inclusive. I always love to know what others are doing, and then maybe, I don't know, sometimes it just sparks ideas for our own collections or our own plants. And I mean, I don't know. I always say I feel like this hobby, plants, it's meant to be shared. So I love doing that with you. I promise we're getting back to planty chores and planty tasks in the next video. I want to wish you the happiest new year. Thank you again so much for choosing to spend your time with me, and I will see you very soon. Bye. I'm in a little bit of a new spot today. I mean, not really new. I'm just like further back from where I usually am, just for lighting purposes. It is a very dark and gloomy day today here in Southern California. We've had some really odd weather. I mean, probably not odd. I feel like it happens every year, but the wind is blowing from the opposite direction. So not from the coast, but from inland, which makes our air super dry and gross. And I mean, you can even like smell the dryness. And it's also, well, it just started raining actually not long ago, and it's supposed to continue to rain for a couple of days, which is hopefully a good thing to get rid of like this stillness and those like nasty opposite side winds that we were getting.